Thanks to the support as a channel member, Mohammed Amar. Well, I don't want to alarm anybody, but despite already single-handedly fixing the financial problems at the club, we've just done a transfer window where we did something called a net transfer profit. I'm not sure entirely what it means, but apparently it's a good thing. Hello, welcome to Club 5, part 15 of Non-League to Legend. I'm Kevin. Coming up on today's episode, we have big matches in the league with Champions League and title implications. Our closest rivals, Inter and Torino, both in Serie A. Once again, I've looked at that thinking, 5 away games in a row? No, it's not. We play Inter at home and then Torino away. It's fine. Since you were last with me, this is what has been going on. We have continued on an unbeaten run, apart from the Super Coppa final in America against Inter that we lost 4-0, which we absolutely don't care about, which is why we lost it 4-0. But other than that, we are doing pretty well. We qualified for the Champions League in 5th place, so go straight through to the last 16, I think that is. We don't have to play the knockout round that all these rascals are playing in. Before we get to that, so we've got a little bit of time before. Yeah, there you go, confirmation. It is the round of 16 that we re-enter the Champions League. And Serie A also going very well, as you've just seen, 10 points clear at the top of the league. We've got Vlahovic as top scorer and Bilger as third top scorer. Vlahovic, Szoboszlai and Bilger are the 3 highest rated players, and Agostini at right back is right up there in terms of assists as well. We are quite a good football team. How many players in the Dream 11 have we got now? Most of them. It's interesting, Vlahovic not in the best 11 anymore. Lazrak and Bilger both in the best 11 ahead of him is very interesting. But we've got the goalkeeper, the entire back 4, the holding midfielder, and then the 2 strikers we signed in the summer who were already considered 2 of the best players in the league. Belgium going to do all right, I suspect, based on having those 2 up front for the next 5 or 10 years. But as you can see by this guy, there have been transfers. And in fact, Louis, probably he's French. So would that be Louis Amgar, is a guy we tried to sign in the summer. You might remember from the summer transfer window. He's the striker / winger who obviously I want to play at left back, who's at Paris Saint-Germain, who chose to go to Real Madrid on loan rather than us in the summer, but on deadline day, we were able to take over his loan. He only started 10 games at Real Madrid, wasn't happy there, so we were able to take over his loan. We've brought him in. We now have the left back that we were chasing all summer, which means we were able to accept an insane offer for Paolo Andre Leone, who was basically our backup left back towards the end of his time at the club. Similar to Amgar at Real Madrid, only started 10 games over the course of the first half of the season. Had been fairly regular as a rotation option, never really a first choice, and more often than not used at left back. So with Amgar coming in, £44 million for him seemed like an insane amount of money. So we obviously took it. We've also loaned Inverardi out for the rest of the season to Empoli. He's our 3rd choice right back. He wasn't getting anywhere near enough game time for his development, so we've loaned him out. I suspect it's probably too little too late. In fact, he's now down to 2 stars of current ability, 2.5 stars of potential. A lot of that is going to be to do with form and not playing football at the start of the season. He was the same current ability and potential ability as Maggioni, and they play in the same position, but clearly not playing has caused him major problems, so he's going to go out and get some game time, which of course, in fact, and the one other player who's left, Marvin Benoit, the goalkeeper, who we signed as our backup in the summer for £6.5 million, made his France debut and then got upset that he wasn't playing for us anymore. So he's a very good goalkeeper, not happy being our backup, so we've loaned him to Atletico Madrid for the rest of the season, where he's going to be their starting goalkeeper, and in return, we've loaned in this guy, Owen Heredia, who's on loan with us from Atalanta just to sit on our bench. He was sitting on their bench, now he's going to sit on our bench. Seems fine. It's just a guy to sit on the bench. So with those 2, Amgar and Heredia coming in on loan, we did have a little bit to spend as well. I mentioned we wanted a midfielder, probably more in the all-action, box-to-box style than the tippy-tappy playmaker type that we've got a lot of, until owning is exactly that. He can play as a striker or a winger. His natural position is central midfield as a box-to-box or a Mazzala, the 2 of the roles that we like to use in there. But very much all-action, aggressive, tough-tackling, attack-minded central midfielder. My kind of midfielder. He's only 22, 7 goals in 17 caps for Austria already as well. He's only 3-star current ability with 3-star potential. So he's never going to be a starter for us. I think he's just a useful squad player. He can play in a number of positions and it does a role that we didn't really have anybody to do at the moment. So handy both in terms of squad depth and from a bit of tactical flexibility as well, which means in January we brought in £45 million worth of player and only actually spent about £26 million worth. So we made a transfer profit. So we have just about managed to keep our balance in the positive. We've actually got an enormous amount of transfer budget left to spend as well, which I am very much going to be saving for next gen day to see if we can pick up another Bilger again. We're expected to get 0 transfer budget next season. So if all else fails, if we don't manage to spend this on next gen day, we can just roll this over into next season, and 47 million with a decent gap in wage budget as well will be plenty to spend next year. If I'm still here, if we win the Champions League, we're going to be moving on anyway, so we might not even be here next year, but trying to leave the club better than we found it. I've fixed the finances. I've almost fixed the squad now. We are definitely making good progress. Let's prove it by going to play Inter Milan. This is going to be the team we send out there for that game. We've got Secco in goal, a back four of Amgar, Valente, Sotalo and Agostini. Boatini at the base of the midfield. Veloso dos Santos ahead of him with Zabozlai, who is now fit again from injury, alongside dos Santos, who I've mentioned this on Twitch a couple of times. It's confusing because in my Twitch save with Sporting, which you can watch most nights, twitch.tv/LOLLUJO, or you can watch highlights on LOLLUJO 2 the following morning. But we're managing Sporting and we have a central midfielder who can also play defensive midfielder called João Veloso dos Santos. It's the same guy. We've got the same new gen in 2 saves. I guess he's one of those name in the game players. So it is confusing me that he's in both saves. But in this one, we play him a little bit further forward than we do over on Twitch. And then on the left, we've got Lazrak. On the right, Bilger, and then Vlahovic up front. This is a big, important game for us. A win here, and I know I say this every time we play Inter, but it usually is true because they're realistically our only title rivals. If we can beat them here, we're probably going to go on and win the league. We're 10 points clear as it stands. This would make us 13 points clear and Inter don't get to play us again. So the chances of us dropping points in 5 matches while they just relentlessly win and win and win and win are close to 0, I would suggest. Of course, a victory for Inter hands them a chunk of momentum and cuts that gap almost in half. So makes the second half of the season a little bit more interesting from their perspective. But what we'd like to do here is beat Inter, go and beat our City rivals in the second match of the episode, and then just spend the rest of the season completely focused on the Champions League, knowing that Serie A is taken care of. I realise it doesn't always go that straightforward. It doesn't always follow the script, but that's how I'd like it to be. I'd like Champions League focus from here, please. Secco plucking the ball out of the air beautifully from that Inter corner. I don't like to talk positively about goalkeepers during matches. I'm doing it a lot at the moment, though, because Secco just seems so comfortable. He's just a safe pair of hands, and I love it. Lazrak has just done great work winning the ball back here, and he's got the ball back from Zabazlai, squares it where both Bilger and Vlahovic were lurking in the middle. Couldn't find either of them, but Veloso dos Santos finds Bilger, and now Agostini tries to have the shot. I mean, he's the assist machine. There you go. That's what he should be doing. Squaring it to Vlahovic. That's exactly what he does. And Dusan Vlahovic has got 30 goals already this season. It is February. The man is the current Ballon d'Or holder. He is absolutely absurd. He is in the form of his life as he approaches his mid-30s. He's going to miss me when I'm gone. We might see if we can take him back to Preston with us if we ever get to go back to Preston, because Ferguson, still at Preston, doesn't look like leaving. Preston have I think they finished like 10th in the Champions League stage. So although they didn't get top 8 and get to skip around, they were fairly comfortable with their qualification. Of course, it would be fun having the opportunity to play them in the Champions League. Having played them in the Europa League previously, would be a lot of fun to play them in the Champions League this season. Champions League final, Juventus versus Preston, that'd be nice. And then the Preston manager leaves in a sulk, having not quite got the job done. Kev swoops in, wins the Champions League at the first attempt, end of series. It's the dream. It's the dream we all want to see become a reality. And Secco is there once again to make a wonderful save. He's very solid. He's up to 7.2 now, as he blooming should be. And it's Agostini with the free kick. Finds, he rolled it across to Veloso dos Santos. And now Lazrak back to Boatini, who's burst out of his defensive midfield position and left us a little bit exposed to the counter-attack here, but Valente is having absolutely none of it. Plays it over the top to Lazrak again, who has been very dangerous for us on this left-hand side today. Szoboszlai to Veloso dos Santos, and he's absolutely scuffed his shot there. I'm not even sure what he was trying to do. It looks like it came off his shin pad, and we've somehow ended up with a corner. I think it's from a different move, though. I think this is the next highlight. And it's Sotalo, and it's been a while. It's only his second one of the season. He was doing this constantly last year. Now he's getting a little bit older, a little bit more reluctant to whack the ball with his head constantly, but he's done it there. He just, big game player. We've talked before about Sotalo and how he's a big game player, and he weighs in with these goals in these big matches. And I think if we analysed his goals from last year, the majority of them were in the second half of the season in big, important matches. He just doesn't bother when the matches don't really matter. Champions League group stage, first half of the season league matches, not into any of that. But you get him in a big game against Inter or a Champions League game, and he'll grab you a goal. It's almost like clockwork. Lazrak really does deserve a goal for his first half performance here. He has been involved in everything, but that one was a bit of a strange effort. It looked like he hit it with the outside of his foot from a long way out, and it was fairly comfortable for the goalkeeper to deal with. It's Inter with a corner just on the stroke of half-time, and their header goes just over. I didn't actually see who made contact with that, because the only player who was highlighted was Veloso dos Santos, but we won't worry about that. It's 2-0 at half-time. There's that beautiful 13-point gap we were talking about, which is effectively a 14-point gap because we'll be ahead on head-to-head with Inter, which I believe is how teams are separated, although I think someone told me in the comment section, let me know if this is true or not, if we were to finish level on points with Inter, I think we do a playoff. I don't think head-to-head or goal difference or anything like that comes into it. I haven't actually checked the rules, and let's face it, with 13 points clear as it stands, I don't think it's going to come up. But if it does, of course, that would upset me, having to do a playoff with my playoff record. I know I've broken the curse recently, but all the same, that doesn't mean I'm desperate to play in loads of things called playoffs. Right, 20 minutes to go. We're going to do our normal 20 minutes to go set of changes, one of which is going to be Kolarich coming on, if I can click him. I don't know why that was so difficult. Kolarich is going to come on to play left back. One of the other reasons we sold Leone is to get Kolarich more game time. He's a wonder kid, and we haven't really played him enough. He's still not started a match for us. So we're going to get him on today. Agostini can be the one who moves over and plays on his weak foot, as he is that much more experienced. In fact, forget that. Kolarich can play centre-back. Magione can come on and play right-back. Even better. And Lazrak, who, despite looking like he's been involved in everything, has actually had a fairly poor game rating-wise. So we'll take him off, and Fabris can come on, who also never lets us down. And we're just cruising. No highlight. That's exactly what we want. We can bring on Locatelli, who has announced he's going to be retiring at the end of the season. So Locatelli is definitely going to be done at the end of this season. And then it's just a case of, where's Ruiz? There he is. Then it will just be a case of, does Baturina or Szoboszlai also leave? Szoboszlai, while he was injured, did sign a new contract, but it wasn't an extension. It was a weird thing. He's out of contract at the end of the year. He signed a new contract that also expires at the end of the year, but saw him take a massive pay cut. It was when we were struggling financially. I don't think I mentioned it in a video. He dropped from like £250,000 a week to about £180,000 a week without extending his contract. The man's a team player. He's got a job for life here if he wants it. But there's been a couple of moments where he's not been that keen on sticking around. So we shall see how things pan out with him. But importantly, we've beaten Inter. We have that 13-point gap at the top of the table. If we can now do the same again against Torino, we'll look. Is Mikel Arteta Inter manager? Well, I never. How long has he been there and I've not noticed? 5 years. Goodness me. Well, there we have it. Let's go beat Torino as well. And let that be a lesson to our backup goalkeeper. What was his name? Benoit. In fact, forget it. Benoit's injured. He's out for 3 months with a hip injury. So double lesson for him. Grass isn't always greener on the other side. He's gone to Atletico Madrid and got a season-ending injury. If he'd have stayed here, he wouldn't have picked up that injury, and he'd have also been starting this game because Seko has got a poorly groin. He's going to play because I don't trust this guy. I know nothing about him. He's only 6 foot. He's tiny for a goalkeeper. I don't even know how big Seko is. 6 foot. Is he full-size goalkeeper? But if Benoit had been here, he wouldn't be injured and he'd be in the team today. What a silly goose. The only change we've actually made is Gervasio coming in the midfield, because I'm determined to make Gervasio work. He's 25, turns 26 this season. I worry he'll forever just be a fringe player here. But I mean, Milan and Real Madrid want him, so there's something about him. And the fact that he is a full-sized human being just makes me really want him to work out. 6'4". He got a hat trick in a cup game earlier in the season, so he's a decent attacking threat for us as well. Plays very well in this Mazzala role. This is definitely his best position. So we're going to give him another go in there today in a game that we should be capable of winning. I mean, Torino at the start of the episode were up in 4th place. They've dropped down to 6th. We can do their Champions League qualification hopes a real blow here in what apparently is called the Mole Derby. I'm going to need the people of Turin to explain to me why this is called the Mole Derby, especially as I'm heading to Turin soon. I am recording these videos in advance, but I think at the time this video comes out, it's less than 2 weeks before my trip to Turin. So I need to know all about the Mole Derby. If there's moles in Turin, I want to know about it. Vlahovic has scored a goal, though, which is always nice. That's a goal, not a mole, just for clarification. Gervasio with the ball over the top. See, he can do assists as well. Vlahovic brings it down nicely, tucks it past the goalkeeper. 1-0 to Juventus. And we continue to further extend our lead at the top of the league, as we tend to do. It's our thing. But it's a Torino attack, although actually, in fact, I was going to say we've won the ball back, but we haven't. They've got in behind us here, and Secco, poorly groin and all, can still get out and make the big saves because he is just. I mean, I'm going with it. He's the best goalkeeper we've had this save. I know we've had some good goalkeepers, and there's every chance that Blanco at Secco's age, which he probably nearly is now, they're probably similar age, but Blanco now would probably be sensational. We only knew Blanco as a teenager when we were at Preston. But I think this version of Secco, definitely better than a teenage Blanco, and definitely better than Dennis Simon as well. We have, to my mind, the best goalkeeper in the world at the moment. I mean, they are the top 3 when the World Goalkeeper Award thing happened. They're the top 3. So we've done all right with finding goalkeepers in this save, but I think this one is the best of the lot. I think he's now Spain's first choice goalkeeper. If he's not, Spain have lost their minds. Right, Sotalo, dribbling the ball out of defence. I mean, moving it slowly forward. There was no one challenging him. It was hardly a dribble, but Torino just don't seem to have any interest in getting hold of the ball. I mean, to be fair, they're 2-0 down inside 20 minutes. They're probably afraid of embarrassment here. Look at this from Bilger. I mean, he's missed, but the control and the setup play to carve that chance out for himself, he is just very, very, very good. Oh, it's rare you get a young player that good. He's still only 19. He's the best player at the club at 19 years old. He's the best player in Serie A at 19 years old. Juventus could dominate Europe for years to come if they can keep hold of that guy, because the really crazy thing is we signed him so young that he'll actually become homegrown at Juventus as well. So he's going to be a homegrown player, homegrown at club player, who's going to go on to become the best player in the world. He will win the Ballon d'Or. And he's just here. He's here on a long-term contract. I just hope that the likes of Paris Saint-Germain or Real Madrid or Manchester City don't come and take him away. We need to build the strength of the Italian league so that he can stay here. Stay at home. Stay where he's been here 6 months. This is where he belongs. We're building our little Belgian attack here. We need one more Belgian attacker, and we've got a proper Belgian front three, and that'd be amazing. Right, Amgar on the left-hand side. I mean, the highlight just stopped. He didn't get any opportunity there to do anything at all. We just highlight immediately ends, and we hit halftime 2-0 up. Very happy with that as a first half. It would be nice to grab a third just to be able to start resting players. We have got the Champions League coming up in the next few weeks. We don't actually know who we're going to be playing yet because we're still waiting for those knockout playoff round things, whatever they're called, to be played. But it is going to be back certainly within the month. We'll be back in the Champions League. So we do want to make sure we're keeping players nice and fresh. I mean, if we grab a third goal, is there an argument for taking Secco off? He's on there carrying a knock. Is that just madness, taking off a goalkeeper mid-match when you don't have to? But if the job is done and the match is won, it's better than risking him getting a proper injury, surely. Is it? Maybe? Possibly. We haven't got the third goal anyway, so it's not really coming up. Right. Agostini never seems to make it through 90 minutes. He's always tired. I mean, to be fair, he is instructed with getting up and down that right-hand side constantly, so he does kind of have an excuse. We'll bring Gratakos on in midfield, and we're going to bring Owning on the left-hand side. Normally we'd bring Ruiz on. I just want you to see this guy, really. We've just signed him. That's not really the position we've signed him to play, but the fact that he can play there is very useful. And in fact, Boatini has picked up an injury, so we're going to shuffle everything around, and he is going to get to play box-to-box, which is what we've actually signed him to do. Boatini's going to come off, and we're going to bring Veloso dos Santos on to play there. This is a potential look at a future midfield shape for us. And I think we'll take off Valente as well, who is tiring, and it gives Kolarich another little 15-minute spell at the end of the match. It does mean Seko's going to have to stay on for the rest of the match. Gratakos, a rare outing on the right-hand side of midfield, where he did play a lot of football for us last year. But that's Wenning. German speakers, how do you say that? Talk me through it. We've won 2-0. That's the important thing. 2 very efficient performances, and the league table is looking almost as handsome as I am. We will be back tomorrow for Champions League shenanigans. Do we know who we're playing yet? We do not. Yeah, we really don't. Preston have made it through, though. So, I mean, Preston have made it through in style. So that's a possibility. That'd be quite a nice one. Although, to be fair, want them in the final if the opportunity is there for us. If you've enjoyed that, please make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on there for me. Subscribe to the channel for daily Football Manager videos. And thank you very much for watching.